Hello there! I'm Scotty. You're not welcome back to the Chucky Revisited series. And we are talking about Curse of Chucky, a movie 9 years into making. Yes, after Seed of Chucky, everything was put on hold because that kind of put it on halt. So put it on halt, everything put on halt. It was done. And then magically one day it was announced that a new Chucky movie was going to be made. It's going to come out in 2013. It's called Curse of Chucky. And originally, I'm not going to say it was confirmed, but it was rumored that this would be sort of a requel of sorts. That it would take place canonically in current time, but ignore the events of Bride and Seed and be only connected to Child's Play, which up until a certain part of the film you kind of feel like it is, but then it comes off and everything just comes bubbling back out. Okay, this is in continuity. And especially like one of the ending parts. Yeah, so it is all connected, but it seemed like it was. It was rumored it wasn't going to, and then as you're watching, you're like, okay, maybe then they bring up the first film, and then Andy Barclay's brought up, so it's like, okay, maybe this is just, but no, this is all connected, which is fine. So we don't start with the Chucky resurrection scene. We don't see any of that. No, we actually start with a delivery truck going to a gothic-looking house, which is lived in by Sarah and her daughter, Nika Pierce. Sarah Pierce and her daughter, Nika, I should say. Nika opens the door because her mom is busy painting sunflowers for some reason, and she gets the package, which is this box, and the package guy flirts with her, but Sarah is too protective of her daughter and just says, he's just being nice. He's not flirting with you. And I'll tell you right now, as a man, he was totally flirting with her. Completely. As a guy, I can tell when other guys are flirting with women, right? He was flirting. He wanted a piece of that, okay? He was flirting. Full on. I'm just saying. Yeah. I should mention Nika is played by Fiona Dorff, daughter Brad Dourif, who plays Chucky. And she's playing younger here because we find out she was born in 1988, but Fiona Dorff was already born by 1988. So she's older than I am, which is how I know. She's in her mid-40s now, which means back then she would be in her early 30s. 2013. I don't know, maybe mid-30s. And 2013, I was, how old am I now? 37. I was 26. So, yeah, she's older than me. But, yeah. So, much like the original, we don't see the doll, right? We don't see the doll. We don't see the doll kill right away. There's not a lot of movement. This brings it back to like the original feel. It's a little more creepier, scarier. It has a gothic feel to it. It's done pretty well. There's a lot of good shots in here. Dan Mancini directed this, which makes you really scratch your head. Like the same guy who directed Seed of Chucky directed this. Well, they had 9 years in between to learn how to do stuff right. But yeah, he directed this, and he directed Cult, which if you watch Cult, you're like, okay, I totally feel it, the guy who directed. No, you still go, he directed this, it's so boring. I did that one tomorrow. And then I'm like, okay, I only have one more to do tomorrow, right? Forgot I still have to do the remake. I'm counting that one, so I still have to do the remake. Okay, so Sarah dies off screen, supposedly of she unalived herself, supposedly. I know I can't get demonetized if I'm not monetized, but I'm just saying. She she unalived herself, supposedly. And so you get this shot of the doll, and it says Curse of Chucky over it, and you see just Nika in the background. We meet Barb, played by Danielle Basutti, who most of you say, oh, she's the mother from the first two Insidious movies. Yes, but I would say she's actually from True Jackson VP. She was the character on there that I remember from that Nickelodeon show. So, yes. But yes, most of you know her from Don't You Dare! Yeah, that. But she's the older sister, Barb. And immediately, like, without wasting, she's there and she wants to talk about Nika about selling the house because Nika can't live in there by herself. Why not? Like, okay, I'm not physically handicapped, but I know some that are. And even if they're in a wheelchair, they're still very capable of doing stuff for themselves. She might need, like, a helper here or there. They could hire an aide or something. Or your fucking family can move in. You know, something like that. She shows up with her husband, Ian, who is a Mark Ruffalo clone. And their live-in nanny, Jill. And their daughter, Alice. There's another little girl character, and she immediately takes to Chucky. And I noticed they do mention her early on when they get the doll, right? And she's like, who would send me this? And Nika says, Alice would love this. So, yeah. And I think that's why Chucky stays, because once the kid shows up, he's like, oh, I can do this like I did with Andy, right? But, yeah. So it is kind of slow going. There's also a priest, Father Martinez is the actor. Father, whatever his last name. I'll just call him the Father. So the Father is also there and is talking to Nika about, you know, such things after the passing and everything. You got to talk about counseling and such. And Nika invites her to stay with the family for supper. So they're going to make vegetarian chili. All right, so I'm not going to question what they eat. You don't want to eat meat? That's fine. You don't want to eat anything that comes from animals? That's fine. Be vegetarian, be vegan. But for God's sakes, do not ruin the delicious, meaty goodness of a chili by not having meat in it. Make your own dishes. Don't ruin ours, please. People say, oh, it's not chili without beans. Again, it's the seasoning. But here's the thing. You cannot have a chili without the ground beef. Okay? Because the ground beef is the foundation on which the chili is based on, right? You have the seasoning, the sauce, and all that shit. But without the beef, you got nothing to go in the sauce. So what do they use? Like a vegetarian fake meat substitute? I can't say I wouldn't try it. I mean, I eat the vegetarian chicken nuggets because they're delicious. And the vegetarian chicken and beef patties, they're good. But here's the thing. Chili's another thing. I said I'd try it, but I don't think I'd eat it all the time. You need the beef in the chili, okay? I'm just saying. I know I'm a little bit hypocritical saying don't ruin the stuff. Like chicken nuggets is one of the greatest foods ever made. Even Dominic Mysterio can decide whether he likes chicken tendies or chicken nuggets because they say he only eats chicken tendies. And then there was one time that it's chicken tendies and it's nuggets. And I'm like, that's nuggets. That's not the same thing. They're not the same. They're not the same. The tenders are longer and have more seasonings than the nuggets. The tenders are longer and have more seasoning than the nuggets. I'm just saying. Okay? I didn't drink. So, while they're getting ready to make the death soup, no, that's too accurate. They're getting ready to make the vegetarian chili. We see a hand pour rat poisoning into one of the bowls of chili. So then we get a great shot of just the camera moving around. You don't know who got it. They do fake outs where I think Barb goes, ooh, in interesting. And then Alice goes, "This tastes funny," and oh, it's vegetarian. But then it's quite obvious that it's the father, it's the priest. The priest says, "I have to go. I have something else to do." So he takes off, and then surprisingly, the poison doesn't kill him because this is essentially the first big kill that kicks off everything. Yes, I know that Sarah's was technically first, but it was off screen. This is the first one we got to do, and so they don't have a boring kind of poison death. No, he ends up in a car accident where his head gets pinched in this metal, and this cop, who would later show up in the next one, is Multiple Malcolm. Mancini likes to reuse actors, but comes up and says, he's not an alcoholic, I'm his sponsor. He's my sponsor," or something like that. And so he's like, "Come on, get him out of there." And so when they pull it out, his head gets like pops off and a big spurt comes up. It's all really good. Really good stuff. Yeah. But the father is now dead. So now we're back at the house. What's going on? Well, as we are introduced to these characters, it looks as if Ian is having an affair with Jill, the nanny, but it turns out, no, it's Barb who's having the affair, because this is Mancini continuing the same-sex relationships and the LGBT stuff that wasn't even labeled as that back then in 2013, but yeah, starting that stuff, continuing that stuff like he sort of did with the Glenda stuff. Here he's got a same-sex cheating relationship that we find out later that Ian is aware of, because he ends up putting a nanny cam inside Chucky. And much like I have a problem with the Paranormal Activity movies, where the whole point of why we're watching this is because they got these cameras to film so they can specifically see what is going on. The first film, that's fine. They keep looking at those, fine. The second film, they get security to make sure no one's breaking into their house. Then they don't watch them. Dan seems to refuse to watch those. It's not till Dennis comes along and actually watch the stuff, but then he doesn't tell anyone. And then there's Randy. Be smart. Be like Randy. And then there's the fourth one where they do. But the problem is they got smart people who want to check the stuff, but they have to come up with a. I recently we watched all these with my son except for 7. We're in the middle of that one, and that one frustrates me because you got characters who do keep trying to check the footage, but they have to write in a stupid excuse like, "Oh, they can't get it to work. They can't get in. It's not working." Stupid. Anyway, back to this movie. So Ian's aware that something's going on, and we see them making out because they're trying to find Chucky, and Chucky ends up on the couch with Ian while watching old home movies. During the old home movies, we see a very familiar figure, and that being Charles Lee Ray. But nobody else knows about it. But Nika seems to sort of recognize the character, the guy, person, like she's seen it in a newspaper or something. And so she starts to do an internet search, but is not able to really. She finds an article on Andy Barkley, but not able to really find much before the power goes out. No. But going back, so everyone goes to bed really, and Ian is sleeping, and so Barb does a video call with Jill. Well, Jill is in the same room with the daughter in her bra, and you got Barb on there, and they're just kind of chatting in this, and I'm like, why are they chatting? Why can't she say, "Ian, honey, I'm gonna go use the bathroom," and then Jill tells Alice the same thing, "I'm gonna go use the bathroom," and then they just make out in the bathroom. Why do they have to do it? Chat. They're in the same fucking house. I'm sorry, in this movie it's house because they filmed in Canada, so some people have Canadian accents. House. Again, no, Nika's trying to figure stuff out. Can't really come to that conclusion yet because Jill gets electrocuted and one of her eyes sparks out, which I don't know how that works, but fine. Because they have the plug-in on the floor. I know they do that, but I've never found it practical. Why would you do that? One spill and you get electrocuted. Hence, explanation. Example here, right? And Chucky doesn't talk till like halfway through the movie when he's under the covers with. They have it up like a tent, okay? And he's talking to Alice, and she goes, "Chucky, I'm scared," and he goes, "You fucking should be." This is now the time to talk about the design. I guess it's not. It's this one. Not a fan. I'm not a fan of how it looks like that. I'm not a fan of it because... Actually, that's not the right ones up here. I'm not a fan of it because it looks too off. I guess maybe I was used to seeing it with the scars and everything, but... I don't know. It looked off to me. And I don't care for what it looks like. Also, during most of it, the doll looks weird. Because it gave it buck teeth and its mouth is open all the time. So it's like... I'm like... The doll's mouth was never open. Like that. And the other ones. Hold on. It's got to be on the back of this or something. Here. It's smiling like this. But in this one, the doll's not smiling like this. It's going. It looks like it's cuckoo nuts. At one point, it does scream. And by the way, so I think they blended a new voice with Edon Gross's voice from the original. Because sometimes when he says, "I like to be hugged," it sounds like him. But they must have redubbed "Hi, I'm Chucky," and "I'm your friend to the end, Heidi Ho," because it sounds different. It just doesn't sound right. It doesn't. So Ian confronts Barb when she says she's gonna go check on Alice. And he's like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, because she might need help." And just who is that? What are you talking about? She's like, "Well, I put a nanny cam in the doll," and then he just puts the earplugs and he goes to sleep instead of checking the footage. Because now Alice is gone and no one can find her. And so they're looking for her. And when Nika tries to talk to Barb, because she's now figured out the doll is Chucky. Chucky, the doll, is Charles Lee Ray. She's figured it out. Here's one little thing I want to comment. Before the power goes out, she makes a phone call to where it was delivered from. And it says evidence suppository. Not suppository, that's something else. Depository. Evidence depository. So, whoever it was that I won't... Well, I can spoil. So, Tiffany sent it from an evidence depository. Evidence from what? Well, I guess it wasn't... I mean, it's implied that the cop who found the father is in on it, but I don't think he's in on it till the end. Because I don't know. Because that would imply that he purposely blamed Nika for the murders. And I don't like that. Because I have another theory on the end, because something in that scene doesn't make sense, and I'll get to it. So I have another theory that would not work with him being in on it from the beginning. So, I guess, I don't know. If she paid off another cop to do that. The problem is, evidence depository means that it's the same doll from the last one. That doll is missing an arm. Remember, it was somehow sent to Glenn. Although, if you want to ignore that, that's fine. But I'm just saying. So, uh, Nika tries to warn Barb, stay away from the doll, stay away from the doll. And she's like, no, what are you talking about? And so then she goes upstairs to check on Nika. And she finds the doll sitting there. I guess she lets the doll go at some point. I don't know. And then this is where we get the reveal that it isn't canon with Bride and Seed, because she starts to peel off some of the skin. It reveals the scarred version with the stitches, which I like. And he looks a lot better here now that he has the stitches. He does. And this is where we finally get a Chucky one-liner. Well, besides the one he says to her. He goes to stab her. He goes, "You have your mother's eyes. They're always too fucking close together." I've watched this movie with the commentary on. And Danny Elbasudi's in the commentary, and she goes, that line actually freaked me out because he said that, and now I'm very conscious of my eyes. Like, are they really close together? You know, but yes, I think that's funny. Yeah, and so stab her in the eye. I go rolling down the steps. Nika sees it, freaks out. We have a little fight. I think he stabbed her in the leg. No, he already stabbed her in the leg when she was going on the elevator, but yeah. I think the power keeps going out because of the storm that's going on, but she races to Ian and tries to explain to him what's going on. He doesn't believe her. And so then he puts her in the garage, and tries to go after Alice. But Chucky is already in the car. Now, some of this doesn't make sense how he can get there fast. I mean, he can run a little fast. If you put the next one in your mind, you can think maybe there's more than one. But I don't think that's the case here, because that doesn't make sense right now. So I think there's only one at this point. So he's already in the car, and he's trying to get to her and trying to kill her. And then she fights him off with an axe. Then Ian comes in. And so they mentioned earlier that she also has a heart problem because of her wheelchairness. Part of her disability. And so she starts freaking out, and she tries to tell Ian, hey, use this needle and stab me underneath my rib. And he's like, no. She could die, dude. He must eventually do it because she comes to, and he's got her upstairs. He's got her all bound and gagged and everything in the wheelchair. And he says, he's like, where's Alice? She goes, I don't know. And she tries to tell him that it was Chucky. Then he goes, you know what? I'll look at the footage and I'll find where Alice is. And this frustrates me. So he looks at this, he's seen all this stuff, he's seen all the evidence that the doll is doing this. He then switches it to live and sees that the doll is walking into the room that he's in. And does not turn around to take the doll down. No, he gets his ass kicked, he slips, falls down, and Chucky chops him. It's technically a decapitation, but not really. He just chops off his jaw, and the tongue goes, It's kind of like Yoko in The Grudge. You know, it's pretty gnarly looking. And so Ian's dead. Bye, fake Mark Ruffalo. You're no help at all. And now we have a last standing fight, and Chucky grabs her, pushes her over the banister, and she falls flat. And then we get an explanation why he's doing this. Good old-fashioned revenge. He fought many families. The Barclays, the Kincaids, the Tillys. And now he's after this family, because it's all this family's fault. For this movie and the next movie, and then they change it. So he explains that he got obsessed with their mom after being introduced. And this scene already confuses me. So like, hey, Charles, come here. I want you to meet someone. And he introduces his family, their dad. And I'm like, but wait a minute. It's later revealed this is the same year where he gets caught. So he should already have been known as the Lakeshore Strangler. So why are you inviting a serial killer over to meet your family? This makes no sense. He would already be known as the Lakeshore Strangler. Because it's 1988. Or at least late 1987. No, it has to be 1988 the way this works. Alright? Which means that Nika was probably born on Andy's birthday. So they probably share the same birthday. If you think about it, the way this leads up, on or around the day before, the day of, the day after, one of the two or three, you know? If the police chase was the day before Andy's birthday and the next day is his birthday, if she was born right after this incident, it's very possible that she was born on his birthday, or maybe there's complications, she was born the day after. But yeah, something I just thought about now. But yeah, so he's invited to meet this family, and then the father dies off screen. Apparently, in the deleted scene, he was supposed to be on screen, but they made it off screen. They say it was an accident. Of course, Charles did it. And he starts weaseling his way into this family because obsessed with her. He has her tied down. She's pregnant. The stress could cost her the baby. And they make we're led to believe that it was Sarah that called the cops that led to him running from them and ending up getting shot by Detective Norris and forcing him to put his soul into the doll. Now, a lot of people will question, what about Eddie Caputo? Again, being easy in Sarah's house, he could use Sarah's phone and quickly call, or go to find a payphone quick and say, Eddie, meet me here. You know? Maybe even a quick phone call. Eddie, I'm in trouble. Meet me downtown. You know? Which also indicates that Nika and her mom used to live in Chicago as well. I'm just saying. Yeah. But we let it find out it was Tiffany. This makes more sense than Tiffany being the one who did it, because that just messes up her timeline of events. I don't know. But yeah, I mean Sarah never verbally says it was her, but it feels like she's stalling for time here. Keep telling him, she's like, I'm gonna go pick up Barb. No, stay here, stay with me. I'm gonna go pick up Barb. No, stay here. And then when the cops show up, she's like, like she was waiting for them. So it's very, very, very heavily implied that it was Sarah that did it. In the context of this, it makes sense. It makes more sense than it being Tiffany, but I don't know. Then again, if you go with Tiffany, he and Eddie could have been out on a job, and he got it. I don't know. But then again, you gotta know, because Nika's thing would be in continuity as well. So if you take out the Nika stuff and you have it that Tiffany did it, okay, but it also, the Van Pelt ring also wouldn't work. I don't know, it's confusing. So now he's out for revenge. So they start to fight. She wiggles her way in. She does move her leg. She points this out in the commentary too. She's like, I move my leg here, watch. She probably should have grabbed it with her arm and pulled it in, but she moves her leg. You gotta really pay attention, but she does it. And so Chucky gets in there and she stabs him, and just cotton feathers, whatever it is, stuffing flies out. It's because they didn't want to kill off Chucky, but they wanted to have him stabbed. But this makes no sense. Because, like, in the early films, it took a while for him to turn human-like. But even by this point in this film, that would have been enough time in the other films. In the last film, they just got brought back to life, and Tiffany has organs inside of her body. So it doesn't make any sense. Right? She even, like, pulls his head off, and it's a doll head. Then the cop shows up, and she gets framed for it. And she looks like a lunatic. I'm still alive. I gotta go back a little bit, because she does call out Chucky for completion anxiety. Is like, oh, Andy Barkley, is he dead? Sorta. I killed his childhood. Oh, but you didn't actually kill him, right? It's called completion anxiety. It's popular in males. Which her thesis was on completion anxiety, so, she never completed it, and that's the joke. They say that, and she goes, I went to college, yeah, but I dropped out. What was your thesis? Completion anxiety. It's funny. It's kind of funny, but yeah. So we see the cop is in on it now, at least now, and he takes the doll. He sees it breathing. He's on the phone with someone, right? He gets on the phone and he says basically the same lines that Bailey does. Hey, I got it, and don't forget my money, right? And he sees the doll breathing, and as he goes to check it, Tiffany pops up from behind him, slits his throat with the thumbnail and says, "They never learn." And then she takes him out of the bag and goes, "Who's next?" Okay. He couldn't have been calling Tiffany. Now, I know you could say, well, her phone could have been on silent. Yes. Still would have heard her talking. Because if she's talking in a low... Wait, no. My theory is that he's actually talking to Andy. And he was working with Andy to get the doll's body so that Andy could take care of it. Except, I don't know. It makes sense. It makes sense. He sees the whole thing on the news, calls the cop, says, "Hey, I'll give you $200. You bring me the doll's body." The doll, or I'll meet you there, or something. But no. It's supposed to be Tiffany. I don't know. I just don't know. She's right behind him. If she popped up from somewhere in the parking garage, like she did in the first one, or in Bride, it would make more sense. But she's right behind him in the car, and it makes no sense. And then she gets sent to Alice, and Alice comes home from school and sees he's there. He starts doing the Ade Dewey Dembella. She asks where her grandma is, which is Ian's mom, by the way, in case you don't remember. And he says she's in the basement. Well, what's she doing? Nothing. Because she's dead. So, yeah. Starts doing the Ade Dewey Dembella. We do find out from Colt that it does work, but with unfortunate results. But then the dead grandma pops up, and the movie ends. On the theatrical, or the rated version, I guess I should say, it's not theatrical, on the R-rated version. And the unrated version, we have a post-credit scene. Post-credit scene, a delivery person shows up to give a package to Andy Barclay. I remember I was surprised by this. I'm like, is that Andy? And so he takes the package into his apartment, and we see some Easter eggs. Picture of him and his mom. Picture of Kyle. And a diploma from Kent Military Academy, which means after the events of the third film, he not only went back, they allowed him back, and he graduated. That is why I think he's not under arrest at the end of 3. He's being brought in for questioning. Okay? I'm just saying. So, and we get dialogue as he's on the phone with his mom. It's his birthday again, which means it's close to Nika's birthday too. It's 5 months later. So, which means it's November. It's November. So, means that earlier would have been October, September, August, July. Looked like fall to me, though. But it's 5 months later. But, yeah. And so Chucky wiggles his way out of the box and grabs his knife And he turns around, and he's got a shotgun in his face. He's a military graduate, you idiot. Military school graduate, you idiot. We get the line. Play with this. Andy! Gunshot. Cuts to black. We do find out that Chucky is technically still alive. Which, that already signals that there's more than one in the next movie, but I don't know. Although I guess you're supposed to think that Nika might be going crazy in the house, but who knows? And this made me excited because that means Andy was coming back, and then they totally blew it in the next one. I mean, they didn't even. There's not even a reason he should have come back for the next one. He does nothing, absolutely nothing in that movie. Yeah, this went down a little bit, but I'm still gonna give it a pretty good. It's a low pretty good, but it's still pretty good nonetheless. I enjoyed this. I did. I like how it went back to a darker tone. It works. It's better than Seed, that's for sure. But yeah. So what are your thoughts on Curse of Chucky? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I'm Scott, and I'll see you in the next one.